Oh yes, welcome to the countdown to Saturday, Glasgow, the WBO Lightweight Championship of the World. Ricky Burns, Kevin Mitchell, but there's more at stake than just that WBO belt. This is a domestic showdown. Ricky Burns is the champion. This man, Kevin Mitchell, he's the challenger on a mission.
From Dagenham, the hammer, Kevin Mitchell.
Terrific left hand, classic shot, beautiful counter. That was an absolute peach of a left hand from Mitchell.
Yes, just to confirm, Ricky Burns, Kevin Mitchell, the champion against the challenger, the Scot against the Englishman. But it's more than that. It's the WBO Lightweight Championship of the World, live and exclusive on Boxnation from 7 o'clock on Saturday night. It's a big fight. It's a return to big-time fights at the SECC, home to fighters, including in the past, Eubank, Nassim Hamid, Frank Bruno. Now add to that list Burns and Mitchell. I'm joined in the studio by my regular sidekick Steve Lilis, and I'm delighted to say that former British light welterweight champion Ashley Theophane is also on the sofa. Thanks very much for coming in, Ash. Thanks very much for coming in, Steve. Now, Ash, you've never actually sparred with Kevin Mitchell, but you've been in the same gym with him when you've seen him work and train.
I've been in the TKO the same time as him when he first started going there, and like just watching Kevin, he's always had that great potential. Like, I used to watch him sparring in pads, and you would think he's going to go on to be a world champion. So his time is now. It's up to him if he takes it or not.
His time is now. It's up to him if he takes it or not. I can imagine those would be the words that his cornermen will be just whispering in his ear before he makes that walk out on Saturday.
It's funny what Ashley was saying there about, you think he's going to be world champion. I remember when he turned pro in 2003, Frank Warren was saying, we've got a future world champion here, and he's had that different sort of treatment, I suppose, to the champion Ricky Burns. And he has always been tipped for the top. See this night, he's went wrong, but he's you know what? He's a tremendous fighter. People gone about his lifestyle so much, but look at the great fights he's given us. The Johansson thriller, the John Murray. But I think his best performance was Breedis' Prescott. That's when he showed he belonged at world level.
Now, Steve mentioned something there, Ash, and it's something that I know you understand this more than most former champions, and hopefully you'll win another title back. He's had a lot of pressure on him because everyone just assumed he would do it. So that brings different sorts of pressures, doesn't it? Because you're the selected one, you're the chosen one.
Well, if you look at when Amir Khan went on and left Frank, he was the one who was given the throne, like, it's you to follow suit, but it didn't happen. But if you look at a lot of champions, a lot of them have hectic lives. Like Floyd is the the #1 guy. Like lives, so I don't think his outside life will affect what goes on in that ring, because he wants to win. He's trained to win. It's it's about making it happen now.
Well, we know he's trained to win because we had Kevin on the sofa a few weeks ago, and he looked fiercely ready. He was absolutely jumping. He looked in great shape. His eyes looked good. Everything he said makes sense. I know one of the men getting him into that shape, I'm delighted to say, joins me on the line now. It's Mark Tibbs. Mark, how are you?
Hello, Steve. How are you, mate?
Absolutely fantastic. Now, Mark, I had Kevin here with me 2 weeks ago, and he was just getting right up to that stage. I'm assuming he's ready 100% now.
Yeah, he's more than ready, Steve. He's medium rare, in fact, and he'll be just right on the night, I promise you.
Now, I know everything's gone well in this camp, because I know you actually had to go away from the gym for a while, didn't you, and train somewhere out in Essex. Has he been a different fighter over this last 2 months?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was a different fighter when he fought Murray, and getting him onto an even better level was to do training behind closed doors. So we originally wanted to train him at West Ham, but as I said before, in the Olympic traffic jams and whatnot, Dad's friend had a gym out in Wickford in Essex, so we're out there now.
So the behind closed doors had nothing to do with anything that's ever happened in his personal life, Mark. It was simply because that was what you chose.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we had to get every bit of concentration from Kevin in order to focus on a game plan, and hopefully that will show on the 22nd of September in Glasgow.
Mark, when you're preparing a fighter, a quality, a world-class fighter like Kevin, to fight another world-class fighter, does it help or does it hinder it, the fact that they know each other so well? I mean, in an ideal world, would you prefer this guy to be coming in and you'd only seen him, 2 or 3 times on DVD?
No, personally, it doesn't really matter who's in front of us on the night. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
what I mean is, Ricky and Kevin are good friends. They know each other, but business is business, and that's how it's got to be.
Now, when you're working with Kevin now, you're doing a lot of stuff away from the ring with him. You know what I mean? I don't mean, outside of the gym. I just mean a lot of talking, talking, just keeping him on track, keeping him focused. Is that something that you've actually done a little bit more of in the build-up to this fight, Mark?
Well, we take it on a day-to-day basis, if you know what I'm saying, and we can only deal with Kevin on a day-to-day basis. Whereas sorry, hold up. Sorry, Steve. Say that again, mate.
No, I'm just saying. Obviously you're doing your work with him in the gym itself. When he's sparring and when he's doing the work. But once he's finished the gym work, are you sitting around and having an awful lot of chats, awful lot of talks, awful lot of planning going into this fight?
Yeah. Well, listen. We do our work in the gym. Depending on what we're doing in the gym, then obviously we sit round and chit chat about things. Yeah. It ain't all serious, but we've got a job to do, and we make sure we get our job done. But whereas we was in TKO in London, there's a lot of distractions there. So, we can't get 100% out of Kevin, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, and as you say, they're distractions, good distractions, but there's lots of them. Let me ask you this, Mark, and I think it's quite important. It's going to be very hot, very lively up there. I'm not saying hostile. It's going to be a very hot night up there. Are you absolutely convinced that you can keep Kevin straight and focused so that he doesn't commit the sort of the mistakes he made against Katsides when he let his heart rule his head?
See, Kevin Mitchell will not welcome hostility, but he knows at the end of the day he's got a job to do. This is a life-changing experience, and it's going to be a good fight. That's all I can say, really, Steve.
Mark, listen, thanks.
He's focused. He's been in situations like that now. We spoke to him on different things, and that he's going to be all right.
Mark, listen, thanks for your time. Give our best to Kevin, and I'll see you up there over the weekend. Mark Tibbs there. Thank you. Life-changing experience, and I think is that a fair comment? I don't want to say that it's make or break, but it is important.
Cool, it's crucial. It's not make or break. If he goes in there, loses an absolutely barnstorming fight, you could have a rematch, or there's plenty. You look at all the divisions we have in boxing, and the lightweight. You seem to have more lightweight title fights amongst the 4 organisations in the Alphabet Gang. The most. It's a very busy division, so it's not the end. Of course, it's massive. It's one of his career-defining fights, and I've no doubt that he'll be focused on the ball. He was for John Murray. He was focused. He had a hard fight at Yorker, which has sharpened him for this fight. But what I always worry with fighters when they get them right, but it's what damage he's done to himself when he was going on the rampage. I mean, after the Katsides fight, he's admitted publicly he spent under £1,000 in about 8 months on booze. It's what has he done to his body then that it might not be able to go the extra yard? That worries me with boxers. So, well, not worry, it concerns me.
Well, he's still young enough that really his body could naturally heal in that period. Now, actually, you spent a couple of weeks sparring with Ricky Burns, did 48 rounds in total, without giving away too much. I mean, when they talk about Kevin Mitchell up there, I'm assuming they're very respectful of him.
Well, they've sparred together, like Ricky, he's come down to London and he sparred with Kevin, so they both know each other well in the ring, like they have traded punches. And like they do respect him, and I think that's why I was hired as sparring. But at the same time, they have trained hard himself. If you listen to Mark, he sounds like they are ready to go. Sure. But the same, if you listen to Billy, it's the same thing. So I think both camps have got their man into, you know, perfect condition. So, you know, it's all about on the night.
I mean, we have a situation here, Ashton, this is to both of you, where if they both come with their top game, you know, the A game, as they like to say in American basketball, then this is a wafer-thin fight. If they both, you know, if we see the Burns that gave that masterclass against Katsidis, and if we see the Mitchell that gave the masterclass against Bredis Prescott, there's nothing between these two.
Yeah, it's a fight of the year. You know, you have to say if they both come in there and do what they both can do, it is a fight of the year. But I would always say if you look at both of them on their biggest fights, you look at the fights they have been in, like Ricky on the world level, and then if you've got Kevin, who is world level in skill, but he hasn't done it yet.
At that level.
Yeah, on a regular basis, you have to lean towards Ricky. But at the same time, anything can happen because we know how good Kevin is.
Certainly works that way.
I think if they both brought their absolute A game, where, say if we got the Kevin, right? Yeah. This is just, maybe I'm going to the dreamland here, Steve.
You're allowed to, sir.
Oh, I'll go to the dreamland.
I'll give you permission.
Maybe, sort of, if we got the Kevin, who against Bredis Prescott thrown in, a bit of the Kevin in the 7th and 8th round against John Murray thrown in, then I think he has the advantage there. If you can get that Kevin.
Well, I'll tell you what, funny you should mention John Murray. He's going to be obviously one of the interested spectators up there. Still ranked by a couple of organisations at lightweight. Obviously lost the fight to Kevin Mitchell, but he will be up there and he will be pushing, I'm assuming, for a fight against the winner, irrespective of who it was. Now, last week, John Rawling caught up with John Murray, and this is what happened when the two sat down to have a chat.
What sort of a fight do you anticipate? How do you think it's going to pan out?
I think it's going to be a great fight for the fans to watch. I think Mitchell obviously had his break, he's come back, he's had some good wins, including one over myself, and you know, he's proved himself, he's got himself back up there, and he's in title contention now. Ricky Burns has had a phenomenal rise to the top and some great wins, winning the title and defending it, and you know, he's looking really good. I think it's a great fight. I'm just slightly edging towards Mitchell. I don't know if that's because I've shared the ring with him and obviously been on the receiving end of a loss, or whether that's because I know just how good he was when I was in there with him. But you know, I'm slightly edging towards Mitchell. I think, you know, he is a class act, and you know, he hits with dynamite in both hands. And although saying that, though, Ricky Burns got a great defence, so it's a 50-50 fight going into it, and I think it's a great fight for the public, and anyone can win. I think it's who performs best on the night.
Those who support Ricky would say maybe he's just that little bit slicker, mover, tight defence, and he lives the life, doesn't he?
Yeah, he lives it, breathes it, doesn't he? Yeah, as well, he's had the win over Katsidis, yeah, who beat Mitchell. So, you know, I know Mitchell will go in there and prove a point, because if he beats the man and beat him, then obviously, you know, it sort of erases the fact that he lost to Katsidis. But saying that, Ricky Burns had a very, very tough rise to the top. You know, he came under the radar for a long time, having tough fights and taking fights at short notice, and he's a very well-schooled, hard pro. He's a hard man, and you know, like I say, I'm really looking forward to the fight. I think it's 50-50.
You're edging just a little bit towards Mitchell. I tell you, the bookies have actually got Ricky Burns as the gambling favourite for this, so there must be plenty of people out there who reckon he's got the style to do Mitchell.
Yeah, well, like I say, it is a 50-50 fight going into it, and both fighters can win the fight, and if they both turn up on the night and both are at their best, what a fantastic fight we'll have. It is a great fight, and like I say, hopefully one of them will give me the chance to redeem myself and I'll get a chance to find a winner.
You're going to be up there at ringside showing your face?
Hopefully, yeah, get myself up there, put my face about, and yeah, like I say, whoever wins, I'd like the chance to fight him.
Yeah, that was John Murray talking to John Rawling. Well, you heard John Murray there. He looks like 50-50, but I think Rawling saw between the lines that perhaps he's just favouring Mitchell, just a little bit.
He is a thing. I spoke to him as well there last week, and he was favouring it. I think he favoured, because he's been in the ring with Kevin, and he must have thought, well, I gave my best against Kevin for 5-6 rounds, and then he got to me. If he can do that to me, I can see why he's favouring.
Yeah.
Maybe edging that way diplomatically. There,
It makes sense, sort of thing.
But you can see why, because when you think he's fight against Kevin, he gave it one hell of a shot, didn't he?
He did.
And he just fell apart when he got caught. I think it was the end of the 6th or start of the 7th round that time. He got caught and he fell apart then. And I think then he just tried to... John's a machismo man. He met fire with fire.
And of course, what that means, Ash, I mean, assuming that John fancies the fight and a deal can be done, the winner of Saturday could fight him, and we have another big domestic fight. So we keep those domestic fights with the world title underneath them, which is good for the British boxing business.
Well, it's great because that's what I just said, that in Britain we have some good lightweights. You got Gavin Rees there, like that would be a great fight, and you got John Murray as well. So I'm
just there.
Yeah. So there's fights. What can be made there? You know, our own little like tournament.
Keep it amongst the boys, as they say. Now, one fighter who a couple of years ago did keep it amongst the boys. He had some fantastic fights, mostly against English boxers. He won most of them. He lost 1 or 2. But he did in 2006 beat his fellow Scot, Ricky Burns, his former WBO super featherweight champion and friend of the show, all the way from Edinburgh. Live on the line now, Alex Arthur. Good afternoon, Alex.
Hi guys, how you all doing?
Absolutely fantastic. Alex, we're trying to look at this fight this weekend. Just about everybody has it 50-50 or 49-51. How are you seeing it?
Exactly the same. I really mean that. I've been asked, I can't even count how many times now I've been asked who I think will win and who's the better fighter, whose preparation's been better, who's going to live up to the big night other than crumble. And honestly, I've went over it 100 times in my head, and for me, again, I think whoever is best prepared and wants it the most on the night will be the winner. That's how close this fight is, how competitive it is.
Do you think the winner needs the loser to maybe underperform slightly? I mean, will fighting as good as you possibly can be enough if they both show up in perfect condition with their heads in the right place?
Well, that's what makes boxing so exciting and so unpredictable. I think that, well, from what I've been hearing at least, Kevin Mitchell is in the best condition in his life. His head's in the right place, which is very important for Kevin. And I'm also hearing on the other hand that Ricky's in great shape, barring a few misdemeanours in his gym and stuff like that. But other than that, I think that both lads are going to turn up on the night in tremendous condition, and they're going to leave it all in the ring. This could be one of the best fights of the year in Britain.
Now, Alex, it was 6 years ago that you beat Ricky in a massive domestic showdown, and you won it, you know, clear enough. But did you have an inkling, a feeling that, you know, his best years were yet to come?
Yeah, definitely. I said after the fight that, and you can ask anyone. I think I said it live on TV on. I think it was ITV at the time, that I was confident that Ricky, if he kept going the way he was, would be a world champion one day. Yeah. I felt that he would pick up vital attributes that he never quite had at the time, and of course he has. You know, he's developed a fantastic style that's really effective over 12 rounds. He's got a great engine. He takes a shot very well, and Ricky is very awkward to box against. He's not your conventional orthodox fighter. He swipes and scythes at you, you know, and he has very long arms. And if you don't know Ricky and you don't know how to fight against that, I think that's the biggest challenge that most of the fighters face when they're up against him.
I can completely agree with you. I think people maybe study films of him and underestimate him, and when they get in, they get a little bit surprised by lots of things he does, subtle little things. Alex, let me ask you this finally. When Ricky fought you, it was fairly hostile. You kept your head, so did he. You managed to win. But there was an occasion up there in your hometown where even though you had the love and the adoration of everybody packed inside the arena, you allowed your heart to rule your head. Do you think there's a chance that could, in some way, just slightly affect Ricky?
Well, I don't think so, Steve, because that was my wake-up call. That was my learning experience. That was my hello to the world of professional boxing. You had a little lad with a huge ego that was knocking everyone over in 1 or 2 rounds, and then I came up against an experienced professional who knew how to work the crowd, he knew how to work his opponent, and I never quite had that experience then. And I guess what I took away from that fight was that I showed the world that I have quite a big pair of balls, getting up time after the knockdown. But I think that Ricky is a little bit further on than I was then. I think I was 24 years old and really raw. So I think Ricky has been through enough now to really get in the ring and use his experience that he's built up over the years. And I don't think that will affect him. I think he's too smart for that.
Listen, I hope so. Listen, Alex, it's always a delight and a pleasure talking to you. Give my regards to everybody in your family. Alex Arthur there talking to us. Steve, what he's saying there, and I completely agree with him, but I still like to explore this. I like to see the way crowds can affect fighters, either visiting fighters or home fighters. It seems to me that as much as I try, everybody's telling me, Buncey, forget it. It's not going to affect Ricky.
It won't, no. Absolutely no way. So forget it, Steve-O. The thing is, when Ricky fought Alex, he was 22 years of age. Yeah, he really was a baby. Yeah. He hadn't been far off of 6-rounders back then. He was a baby. So, but no, I just wonder if, is there a chance, okay, if you want to, is there a chance Kevin might react to that crowd?
Let me ask Ashley, is there a chance Kevin might overreact to that crowd?
I think
hostile, noisy?
I think he will raise his game to the crowd. I just think it will bring out the best of him. And I think the same thing with Ricky is going to bring the best out of him.
Do you think that there's a chance that either of them will go looking for something quick, or do you think? I mean, if it comes, great. I'm talking about going looking for it. I'll ask you first, Ash.
I don't think they're gonna go looking for it, but I wouldn't be shocked if a KO happened in this fight. I wouldn't be shocked because everyone's saying points, but I wouldn't be shocked if a KO happened
because they're because of the intent and also what's at stake.
Yeah, because they are all because they're both like gonna go all out, late on the line. So I think a KO could happen.
I think the one thing that seems certain, Steve, is that I don't think we're going to get a lot of touchy-feely rounds.
No.
I think we're going to go ding-ding round one. We're going to do the Lloyd Hannigan thing. The bell went ding and I went dong. I think we're going to see a little bit of that, if you don't mind me saying so.
We're going to... There's so much on the line for these two. I mean, there is the England v Scotland pride. And there hasn't been enough of the great England v Scotland fights.
There hasn't, that's true.
Not been enough by any stretch of the imagination. And it's great. But also, on the world stage, the unification... This is a seriously hot division. Broner's moving up and he's going to be $1 million. People who he's going to become, if he wins his next fight, the WBC, but he's going to become, shall we say, the cash cow. Yeah. So there's all these incentives. And what these two want to do is make as much money, obviously. But you know what? They're at their peaks here, Steve.
I mean, but also, just quickly, Ash, I mean, there are fights out there in Vegas and obviously in New York and other places. Yeah. But if the fighters are here, and if the money's here, there's no need to go on the road.
In fact, because we have, he's got Gavin Reese. He's going to fight for a world title soon. So a unification fight could happen
all under one
here.
Roof,
No, I just think someone like Broner, for example, could become that cash cow, Steve. I know I mean, I love domestic fights, but I think you've always been a big, not advocate of why do you have to go to America? I think Frank Warren's had that belief for years, and I'm sure he got it from you, Steve. It's always been your argument. You don't have to go to America to fight.
I always look going back to like the late 80s and the 90s, and I always look, if we can get great domestic fights, then don't go travelling. Anyway, you two sit back. Another lightweight who's going to be working ringside with us, former British champion, the $1 million man, Anthony Crolla, delighted to say, joins me on the line now. Good afternoon, Anthony.
Good afternoon, Steve. You okay, mate?
I'm absolutely fantastic. Now, Anthony, I've been asking all sorts of people in all sorts of different shows how they see this fight going, and everyone seems to come up with the same answer, 50-50. So I'm going to ask you. You can come up with the same answer or a different one. It's up to you.
No, I'll go a little bit different. I think, we're getting a fight here between two of the best lightweights in the world, not just the two best lightweights in Britain currently. And but for me, I think you've got to go with Ricky, who's the man in form, and I just believe Ricky's jab will be the difference on Saturday. And the thing with Ricky, he's been in a few fights where he's been hit where he's not, he's going to lose, but he keeps finding a way to win, and I think that's important. And he's got a very underrated jab, and I think that's what the difference will be on Saturday night.
You're absolutely right what you say there, Anthony. He's been in fights, the Martinez for the first title, and obviously Katsidis for the second title. Irrespective of what everyone says, he was a big underdog in those two fights, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And he was expected to lose, but they both fights there he won well. I know he had the scare with Martinez early on, but for me, after that, he won the fight well, and we just saw that weekend Martinez has shown what a quality operator he is by coming back and winning a world title again.
And Anthony, let me ask you this, and finally, and thanks for the time, and I'll see you Saturday. Is there any chance this could be a dull fight, a bad fight?
I don't think so. But, I mean, what I've just said, I might sound like I'm contradicting myself. If Ricky gets behind that jab and it works for him and Kevin struggles to get inside, then Ricky might think, I'll just make it an easy night, and we might just see, Kevin trying to get inside. But no, I can't see that. I can see a great fight on Saturday. I mean, Kevin's rarely in a bad fight, is he?
That's
and he sounds like he's prepared like no other for this fight. So we wouldn't be expecting the best of both lads. But like I say, I just fancy Ricky.
Listen, and it's a pleasure talking to you. I'll see you on Saturday. Once again, working ringside with me at a Ricky Burns fight. Ashley, as we start to close this segment of the show and this part of this particular show, the fact that they're friendly, they've known each other, they've not just sparred together, they've become friendly. Will that have any bearing anywhere along the line?
I think when that bell goes off, they're gonna go toward the friendship will mean nothing, and they're gonna trade blows to try to hurt each other.
Yeah. So you agree with that, obviously,
Absolutely. And one thing about Kevin, I know Ricky a little bit from speaking on the phone in a couple of meetings, but I know Kevin, and he's a nasty piece of work. I mean, the friendship went out in the nicest possible. In that ring, he's a nasty piece of work. He is there. He'll be in there to hurt, and he won't be thinking of going in the dressing room afterwards to have a chat with Ricky or anything. I don't think that will come into it at all. Friends box a lot in boxing, and I don't think you really do see it at all. I think I saw what. Maybe there was one last year. Was it when Anthony Crolla fought Willie Limond? And I thought in the last couple rounds there, Anthony felt a little bit sorry, but he went to that fight to do intentions, but by that time, the fight had been well won.
And listen, one thing everyone seems to be decided on, Ash, is it'll be a good fight. Yeah. Do you think we'll see, I hate to throw it forward because we're not even at the fight yet, do you think we'll see Burns-Mitchell too?
You never know. Depends what happens. But it would be, if this is a great fight as the way that we are speaking and thinking, why not? Why not?
And just finally, Steve, when you see the two of them coming towards the ring, will you have an indication then if something crazy is going to happen?
No, not with these two, no. Well, you never, unless you see suddenly Kevin Mitchell snarl at the crowd. Ricky Burns will just be looking ahead. Usually wears these pink gloves. There's a special colour. I know what he's going to wear this weekend. He'll just be, banging his gloves. Kevin, if you suddenly see Kevin snarl at someone, or he could look a bit mad, possibly.
Steve Lilis, Ashley Theophane, thank you very much for your time. So that's it. We're getting ready for this. Burns, Mitchell, Saturday the 22nd, live and exclusive on Boxnation, the WBO Lightweight Championship of the World. We've been talking about Kevin Mitchell for the last 30-odd minutes, but it also takes another man, and that man is this man.
I'm Ricky Burns. Watch me live in Boxnation.
From Cambridge, here in Scotland, Ricky Burns!